what wholeness means. Life often damages us. It often throws us off balance. It's great losses or great mistakes or just the aging process or disappointment of our hopes or a broken relationship. Any of these things are going to hurt us one way or another. Maybe deeply destabilize us or shake our confidence in ourselves, or our feeling that we may not be able to make a new relationship after having suffered a great loss. So life itself requires a continuous putting together again, reintegration, the healing of the self. But that healing of the self is in fact a contribution to the health, to the expanding awareness that we call health. But if we really think what wholeness means and relate it to these experiences, I think you could say wholeness is an experience of health as transcending all limitations. But that doesn't mean that we don't accept those limitations. Otherwise we move into this fantasy realm of idealism. We want to try to be perfect. We want our family to be perfect. We want our marriage to be perfect. So wholeness, we could say then, is our experience of health, or our capacity to experience health as transcending all limitations while accepting them, overcoming this virus of perfectionism, which keeps us locked into an imaginary world rather than the real world. So we have to accept our limitations, recognize them, but it is paradoxically in accepting them that we can transcend them. This is also then our capacity for awareness. You could be aware of somebody in need, but just objectify it, look at it, think about it. But then awareness should naturally move up the scale into attention, which is your personal attention to the personal needs of that person. And then that will naturally move even further up the scale into compassion. And compassion has this sense of identification or this sense of oneness with, and then that must lead to action. So the experience of wholeness then, if we see it in this way, and in fact of health, if we see it in this way, we have a new working definition of health, which is a little different from the one of the World Health Organization. It's the complete absence of pain, injury or illness, a state of metabolic efficiency. We have a more meaningful, really, a more realistic way of understanding why we want to be healthy. What is our idea of health? How many of us really think of health in terms of wholeness? And that there is no health worth the word. There's no point in having a metabolically efficient body if your mind is sick or you are unhappy because of the way you're living. So health requires these other dimensions, both the physical, the psychological, the spiritual as well. The experience of wholeness is not dependent, in this sense, on external factors. As I said, people who are facing death, when they've been cared for and they've dealt with their conflicts, their inner conflicts and outer conflicts, they will usually say they have never been happier, they've never experienced a higher quality of life. So the experience of wholeness, of health, is not dependent upon external factors, at least as much as we think. We can be suffering and still be whole. Of course, pain or disappointment threatens whatever sense of wholeness we may have reached. This is a fragile balance. Life is a fragile and unpredictable journey. Anything can happen. But the wisdom traditions tell us that these trials and tribulations can also be integrated, that suffering can be integrated as a way of deepening and intensifying our experience of wholeness. Listen to what St. James says. My friends, you will always have your trials, but when they come, try to treat them as a happy privilege. You understand that your faith is only put to the test to make you patient. But patience, too, is to have its practical results, so that you will become fully developed, complete, with nothing missing. If there is any one of you who needs wisdom, you must ask God, who gives to all freely and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to you. But you must ask with faith and with no trace of doubt, because a person who has doubts is like the waves thrown up in the sea when the wind drives. That sort of person in two minds, wavering between going different ways, must not expect that the Lord will, or we might say can, give him anything. This is pure, it's a universal wisdom. Every religious tradition, it's not consoling teaching, but it is wise teaching. It's something we listen to and we take away and we allow to mature and penetrate us at the right time. Clearly, what is at the heart of this ability to be made more whole by what wounds us is to be single-minded, is this unity within the self. If our attention is divided, that's what we mean by doubt. If our attention is divided, if we are distracted, then we lack the primary condition necessary for integrating pain into health. And that's worth thinking about when we look at our meditation too. If you only meditated when you had a good meditation, it's going to take you a long time. If you meditate unwaveringly, you have this inner stability or this commitment or this regular practice, then it will have this effect. And he says his practical results. So this meditation has a very practical results, some of which you can even measure, but the more interesting ones you can't measure. And this will be essentially the ability to grow in wholeness even through those experiences that seem to threaten us most painfully.